Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump.
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump.
President Joe Biden has achieved something that for many years seemed impossible. He appears to have unified America, not behind a policy, an ideology, or a dream, but behind the blunt truth that he's no longer fit to serve. A massive 72% of voters now believe he does not have the mental or cognitive health to serve as president, a 12-point rise since his debate night disaster. The attempts to defend him look increasingly desperate, none more so than this deflection from Nancy Pelosi.
This is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has...
I know it's sped up, but look at the panic. This is what's happening to the Democratic Party right now. They try to make the substance only with words rather than body language. And if you pay attention to the body language, you can see this big discomfort. Like, even if you watch like Kamala Harris with the interview she did on CNN after Biden had the debate against Trump, you could just feel the panic. They're not doing a good job of even... I think at a certain point, things get so bad that you can't even fake that things are okay. Like, watch, even if I play this in regular speed. Even if I play it in regular speed.
Dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together. Not only that he just lies, he doesn't even know the truth. So if we're just talking about mental acuity, let's be fair about it.
Do you guys see that? Or is that just me?
Yes, let's be fair about it. And to be perfectly fair about it, Nancy Pelosi probably isn't the one who should be adjudicating on mental acuity. And the calls for Biden to stand down...
Piers Morgan would vote for Trump. He just needs to admit it. He would so vote for Trump if he was an American.
From his own supporters. Thomas Friedman, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and the president's longtime friend, wrote him in New York Times, Joe Biden, a good man and a good president, has no business running for re-election. If he insists on running and loses to Trump, Biden and his family and his staff and party members who enabled him will not be able to show their faces. That's a Biden fan, a Biden friend. And that latter point's a crucial one. Many Americans are now justifiably asking,
honest.
Well, who exactly is
That's
running
a good
the country?
friend.
Conservative commentators...
A good friend will tell you if you're fucking up. A bad friend will keep you comfortable and make you believe that things are okay when you're fucking up. Remember that.
Long been dismissed as conspiracy theorists for arguing that the Democrats will swap out Biden at the last minute and that people like Jill Biden, the First Lady, are unduly influential. But on those points, it turns out they were probably right all along. Well, Dr. Jill's appearance on the cover of the new Vogue magazine is unfortunately timed to say the very least. Makes it look like maybe she's the one who's in charge here. This weekend, the Biden family gathered at Camp David, where they reportedly encouraged the president to keep fighting. This comes after footage emerged of the First Lady leading a seemingly stricken president off stage after the debate, a scene that was grimly reminiscent of a nursing home. President Biden shouldn't be listening to his advisors or his son or his wife. The stakes are far too high, but he should now listen to himself.
You know what's weird about that whole thing? CNN has been very left when reporting anything. And the fact that you see this happen and they showed it on camera, that's weird. I don't know what they're trying to do. And I don't know if like it's one of those things that they're trying to play chess with, or if they literally just forgot to, turn the camera off in that moment. It was weird. It was really weird. I know like in past debates they've shown when the candidates get off stage and like do whatever, but this was weird.
If I were to run, I think they're going to judge me on my vitality. Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic?
No.
I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions. This is for the voters to decide. Take a look. Look at me, see if I have the energy, see if I know what I'm talking about, and make their judgment.
And you know what? 4 years ago, he kind of did have the energy. Not going to lie. He did beat Trump 4 years ago in that debate. Trump dug himself a hole, admittedly. I think Trump in himself was his biggest defeat because he kept backing down on talking points and just interrupting Biden to the point that even his biggest supporters were like, yo, Daddy, chill.
I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about anyone's age, including mine. I think it's totally legitimate. But I think the best way to make the judgment is to watch me.
Yeah, well, we did. The world watched, and the judgment was clear. In a 90-minute live debate in front of 100 million people around the world, there was nowhere for Joe Biden to hide anymore. The few Democrats still defending him are guilty of the same blinkered cultism they accuse MAGA Republicans of peddling about Trump. And the only voters who truly want Biden to remain the candidate in November's election are the ones who are voting for Donald Trump. Well, joining me on to debate all this is the host of the Michael Knowles Show and reported fascist. I think that's his jokey description, Michael Knowles. Host of the Habituation Room podcast, Francesco Fiorentini. Host of Tommy Lehren is Fearless and Outkick Tommy Lehren. And the streamer and commentator, Destiny. Right, Destiny, let me start with you. Are you going to stare down the barrel of that camera and construct any convincing argument that Joe Biden should now remain as the Democrat nominee for this election?
I think the difficult reality is your incumbent advantage is strong, and at this point, it's too late to replace him. So you're kind of stuck with him at this point.
It's not too.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what he's saying at this point. They should have done something sooner. I see what Destiny's saying. He's speaking statistically to support his argument, whereas, he's saying that incumbent, usually is the one to have the better chance at re-election, whatever. I think at this point he's right. I think not by the statistic, but just what we're seeing right now, he's right about that.
Too late, though. There is a mechanism. They can do it. They can ratify it at the convention. It's not too late. And we're going to come to Tommy in a moment, who's been saying for ages is more likely to be Gavin Newsom. I think she was right all along. And actually, I said similar things myself. It's not too late. The question is, are the Democrats, after that absolute horror story of a debate...
It's way too late, because they've painted such a picture in which you look at what's happening right now with the party, and if you have a front runner, you're not representing just that, you're representing the whole party in its entirety. Because before Trump, Republicans were so fucking boring. Remember that? And when it was just about economic statistics and theory rather than just the personality. Trump literally changed the face of the Republican Party way more than anyone ever has. Like, it's been something that you've never ever seen. I mean, you have Reagan, who was really he had like his personality, but he still was way more conservative in his temperament than Trump. Trump changed everything. Look at Marco Rubio in 2016 versus the CNN debate. The CNN debate reaction after the debate. You'll see such a big difference in how much they defend Trump, to the point where, like, maybe it's a combination of trying to defend Trump because it makes Republicans look better because he is the front runner. But I really think now Republicans are the Trump party. It's no longer the Republican Party like, oh, Trump says some things and he's a little bit silly. I really think that's what makes Republicans more popular today, especially with young people. It's because they're not fucking boring. Democrats are boring. And the only reason Democrats are boring now is because they have the same talking points. It's not even the temperament. It's just the same talking points that people hear over and over and over again, and they don't get results. So it's like when you're in a relationship with somebody, let's say like you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and let's say I'm a girlfriend in this case, and my boyfriend's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the job, we're gonna get money, we're gonna get a house, and after a few years you're like, fuck this guy. That's what's happening right now. So no matter what you do, the candidate is the party. It's not the party anymore. The candidate is a party in terms of perception. I mean, it may not be the reality of what they're doing in the White House, but the perception is all there.
Seriously going to let this guy be the one who allows Trump to get back to the White House? That's the calculation, surely.
I mean, your strongest arguments are Biden's ran against Trump before and won, and Biden's your incumbent. You can say that it's not too late to replace him, that somebody like Gavin Newsom can run for president and he can do just as good as Biden would. But, I mean, people said the same thing, that DeSantis would represent a strong challenge to Trump, and he got absolutely obliterated. It's easy to look at a candidate that hasn't gone through the ringer, that has.
Yeah, and DeSantis, the reason why he didn't go as far as the statistical analytics put him is because Basically, well, I mean, there's a few reasons. I mean, number one, this country loves Trump way too much, overall. But if you're going up against somebody who is literally a cult leader in terms of not like necessarily a cult leader like by definition on his sake or his side, but like cult leader in terms of like outcome, and then you have somebody who is the antithesis or whatever, it's not really. I don't know. I think Trump's just way too strong. And you're trying to go back into that professional Republican candidate. It's too late. It's way too late. People are tired of wokeness, and that's why Trump is so popular.
Hasn't been tested in a national level election, but who knows if
And like, he was like one of those people. DeSantis. I might have said Newsom earlier, but I mean DeSantis. DeSantis was still sort of like Trump in terms, like, he didn't like the political correctness, but in comparison, you was more polished. People don't want polished anymore.
Newsom comes out, there could be one or two little scandals lurking behind the curtains that now we see that gets infinite airtime over the next few months. The reality is that Biden is probably the best shot the Democrats have right now to win.
But do you genuinely believe he should therefore continue and be the nominee?
I think that the Democrats should run the best candidate that they can to defeat Donald Trump. Absolutely,
you
yes.
keep distancing yourself from this, Destiny. Come on.
Well,
put your head over the
distancing myself
parapet. What do you think?
Well, I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now, given that he's already beaten Donald Trump in one election. I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now to run against Donald Trump.
You
I think that beating Donald Trump is really important.
Hang on. You know what? Destiny may or may not be a Biden stan, but at the same time, he's right. He's not saying that I love Biden so much he's going to beat Trump, and because Biden's great. He's literally saying that out of all the candidates we have, Biden is the only one that's most likely to possibly, if he has a shot in hell, to beat Trump. He's right.
Sorry, I don't want to be unfair to you, Destiny, but of all the Democrats in America, how many are there? I mean, tens of millions, right? Of all of them, you think Joe Biden right now, after that debate, is the best candidate?
At this moment, yeah. If you were
Seriously?
one 4 years ago, and if you had different sort of candidates, then you have a different conversation. But right now, yeah, that's absolutely true.
I'm sure there are better candidates, but it's not about who the best candidate is. It's about who you know the best candidate is. I'm sure that you could flip a coin and find somebody that might end up performing better. But again, look at how many people have these huge reputations. Look at Cuomo and how he was destroyed after a couple scandals. Like, you have no idea if you take a candidate who looks strong. And I admit, Newsom looks strong. He's amazing on-stage presentation and everything. But who knows if you throw him up that there are just one or
electricity rates are increasing more and more. Massachusetts
Biden's
state
America.
regulators
two accusations or one or two scandals or one or two things that the American public doesn't know about that now dominates the news cycle for the next few months. And even though he was a strong candidate on paper, like DeSantis, he disappears.
Okay, Tommy Loan, you've been waiting patiently, actually for several years,
Too polished
to say what I think you're about to say, which is that, of course, they should get rid of Biden and try and parachute in somebody like Newsom. I mean, do you feel a bit vindicated by what's been going on?
I feel very vindicated, but I'll also say, Piers, I hope that they run Joe Biden. That would be the easiest contest for Donald Trump to beat, would be Joe Biden.
Right.
So as much as I do believe they're going to select another candidate, I hope that they maintain with Joe Biden. I hope that that's their guy. And if that is the strongest candidate you have in the Democrat Party, that says a lot about the Democrat Party. Last week's debate performance was horrifying. It was horrifying as an
I don't know why, but I would smash.
American to watch, because, like it or not, this guy still represents the United States of America. And as an American, although I didn't vote for Joe Biden,
oh man, like if you're at like a group setting or like a party or anything, and if you're her boyfriend, she will defend you. Like, she'll defend you like if you're arguing with another man type bitch. Which, as long as like you put her in her place and like, all right, get the fuck out of here, but appreciate it. You guys are gonna after.
I will never vote for Joe Biden. That is still my president. And our enemies and our allies watched that, and it was horrifying. Not only the mumbles and the bumbles and the losing the train of thought. At one point, Joe Biden said that people are getting raped by their in-laws and their sisters. He had one opportunity to dunk on...
See how she's talking with the Trump energy? Republicans will never go back to being professional after 2016 in terms of just demeanor. They may have the same... type of economic theory or the same type of policy, but they'll never, ever go back to being not Trump.
the issue of abortion, where he really could get the eyes and ears of the American public that's very divided on that issue, and he chose to say that people are getting raped by their sisters. So that was a horrible performance. I think they've got to go with somebody else. And what I think is so interesting here is that of all the names being floated, I'm not hearing Vice President Kamala Harris on the tip of the tongue of any leading Democrat. I'm hearing Gavin Newsom, I'm hearing Gretchen Whitmer, I'm hearing a couple of other names being floated, but nobody's really saying Vice President Kamala Harris, and that's got to sting.
We have a little clip, which is a mashup. There's a much longer version of about 4 minutes of her repeating the same line. This is a little bit of it. Watch this.
What could be, unburdened by what had been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been. What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be.
This type of politics is over. It's over. That's not a slogan. It's more of like you're trying to sell something in terms of being professional and profound. Like using that versus make America great again. Like in terms of a marketing perspective, you're not doing your job to sell your candidate, your party, none of that. Because if you're trying to present yourself as this like polished sort of individual that is going back to being politically correct, it'll never work again. Trump has changed everything.
Unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
I mean, no. You posted that on X. I mean, this goes on for 4 minutes. It's about all she ever says. And there's an irony because the one thing she would be is burdened by what has gone on before. Because if there's anyone in America or Democrat Party more unpopular than Joe Biden, it is Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Piers, and that's why they keep jacking up Joe to get him through each and every single day, is because the thought of Kamala Harris terrifies them even more than Dementia Joe. She also says things about the passage of time and how it passes.
Everybody's stuck now. Dementia Joe.
I mean, she has no excuse. She doesn't have cognitive decline or dementia to fall back on. She is just that bad. So I think that's why they've been maintaining Joe for so long. It's because of Kamala. But boy, they're going to have to face that reality sooner than later.
Yeah, Francesca, look, we've talked about this before, but there must be a painful moment.
Look,
right
he's
now
such a
for
stan.
lot of people.
He's such a stan, bro. He absolutely is a Trump stan.
Right? Where your guy is just clearly.
The reason why I'm saying that is because like she called him Dementia Joe, and Piers is usually a little bit more sympathetic when it comes to name calling, but right there he just blew right by.
As I would argue, as somebody who's not got a horse in the race,
that's true.
That I just think has exposed himself as unfit for the highest office in the land. But what do? You know, there are 5 months left of the election. You either allow him to limp on, and I believe if that's the case, get crushed by Trump, or you try and parachute somebody else in, which carries with it, as Destiny was saying, its own risks.
Yeah, no, there's massive risks of replacing Joe Biden. That being said, I do think he should be replaced. And interestingly, Hunter Biden is the one family member that wants Joe Biden to not run again.
Why would anyone listen to him? I mean,
I think it's more self. I'm just saying.
They're listening to Hunter Biden, the
He
crack
just wants
addict?
a single day without the right on his dick, you know, because they love to spread photos of it and show it on congressional floors. But look, politically, here's where I stand. I wanted Bernie, not Weekend at Bernie's. I think we all need to just lay that out there. I put this squarely at the feet of the Democratic Party. They ran a piss poor candidate in 2016. They ran in 2020, and yes, they did win. There was a trifecta. There was a.
You know what? I don't think Clinton was piss poor because she did win the popular vote. I mean, the popular vote only means so much in terms of, you know, I'll get into that probably in another video or later. But just with Hillary, I mean, like, she wasn't a piss poor candidate, and like overall, she made like a lot of mistakes in terms of like relating to people and just being real. I think if she was more natural instead of like using these like professional political talking points, she probably would have won.
COVID-19 pandemic going on at the time, and Obama made that call and everybody fell in line. But is Joe Biden the best candidate this time around? Absolutely not. And I think it is depressing and enraging to millions of Americans who the only person they hate more than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris maybe is Donald Trump, right? Is the fact that you have everything going against Donald Trump, not just the fact that he will.
Thank you so much to the Farmer's Dog for sponsoring today's video. As you saw, our food is delivered straight.
Will pass a national abortion ban. The fact that he wants to implement Project 2025 and abolish the Department of Education.
Here's the problem.
Let me finish.
But that isn't true. He's not said he wants to pass a national abortion ban. So, see, when I hear Democrats do that, it reminds me of Trump's the new Hitler. It's like, why exaggerate? Why go too far? He's never said he wants a national abortion
Pay attention
ban.
to the news that's happening right now. The far-right takeover of the judicial system in this country is already underway. And just today, they allowed a president to have immunity, total immunity, which means the Jack Smith case
Actually, it
against
wasn't
Donald
total
Trump
immunity. See,
doesn't go forward.
Francesca, look, with respect, again, you're massively exaggerating. The US
Okay,
Supreme
well,
Court has ruled
go to Project 2025
well, let me
and tell me
clarify
what
for
it says,
viewers,
Piers.
right? You said they've given him total immunity. They haven't. The Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump is partially immune from prosecution for actions taken while he was in the White House. They said,
I mean, from what I've seen, I've seen Trump saying that he wants to bring it back to the states, or if it was up to him, it would just be purely, purely up to the states. I need to look into Project 2025. I like leaky shit like that, but I really think that this whole fear of the far right is like really weird. I think the only, like, okay, let's say there is a national abortion ban. Is that like the worst thing ever? Is it? I don't know. Because I'm in the pocket where like there should be exceptions for like rape and incest. Maybe if there was a ban, but you could have the exception for rape and incest, that would be like not the worst thing in the world. Like, let's think about it. Like, let's have people make better fucking choices.
while the president's immune from criminal prosecution for official acts taken in office, he is not immune for unofficial acts. Big difference to total immunity. So
Sure,
again, why exaggerate?
There is nothing to exaggerate here. What
You
I'm saying
just
is
did about abortion and immunity.
so he's immune from stealing White House secrets after he leaves the office. Is that what you're saying? It's okay for him
You
to
mean
keep
like Joe
classified
Biden did?
Yeah, Joe Biden, which when he was told, he was like, oh, here you go. Look, I'm not here to defend Joe Biden. You're trying to get on me. All I'm saying is Donald Trump represents a far worse threat to the American people. And Joe Biden's a terrible messenger for his own damn campaign. He can't even articulate the fact that unemployment was at its lowest rate last year.
Democrats so obsessed with abortion. It's like there's a lot of other things that you could be obsessed about, but it's such a weird obsessive talking point. It's like that's like their, especially like women her age. Like I think she's probably in her early 30s, my guess, but like it is such a fucking talking point to the point where it's disturbing. You know what I mean? It's like it used to be like candidate for candidate. Well, I like this candidate because he is lowering taxes, or I like this candidate because he is raising taxes on the rich, or I like this candidate because he cares about the environment. Now it's like, if you don't want to give full abortion rights, you're like the new Hitler. I don't get that. I really don't get that. It's so weird.
1969.
I agree.
The economy is actually doing quite well under Joe Biden.
Of course.
But the guy can't put his mouth around the words.
Did she really just say that?
And he had a perfectly good attack line on Trump about abortion if he could remember what it was supposed to be. But he couldn't. Right. Michael Knowles, let me bring Michael. He'd be waiting very patiently. I mean, look, I think what was extraordinary, 65% of people who watched that debate thought Trump was the winner. Trump hasn't seen approval like that as a politician, right? So that showed you how bad it was. And incredibly, 30% of people who watched it thought that Biden won, which just goes to show how deep partisan tribalism runs, right? Because even Joe Biden knows, even Barack Obama said he had a bad night. What happens here? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I have to correct my friend Francesca here, who says the only person that Americans hate more than Biden is Trump. That isn't true. That's why Biden proposed the debate in the first place, is because his numbers just were not strong enough against Trump, and it completely backfired on him. However, I'm with Destiny. I agree that Biden is the best nominee for the Democrats right now. I still don't think he beats Trump, but who else are they going to pick? As we've said, Kamala, no way. Michelle Obama's not going to run, and she's not nearly as popular as people say she is. Gavin Newsom, I don't think that Patrick Bateman plays in Peoria, okay? I don't think Gavin Newsom wins Michigan. I don't think he wins Pennsylvania. Who? Mayor Pete? Who are we going to get? Are we going to dig up Al Gore? Is he going to run? There is no better candidate for them right now. The problem is that Joe Biden also can no longer be the nominee because the entire liberal establishment has just admitted he's not fit for the job. The biggest problem right now for Biden is he has admitted it. You know, we heard in 2020 that his obvious slips and gaffes and memory lapses were just the recurrence of a childhood stutter that had disappeared for the first 40 years.
Such a biblical downfall of the Democrats. I mean, you were desperate to put up Biden against Trump, right? When possibly it should have been Bernie against Trump, but Bernie's way too, like, in terms of actual policy, he's too left for anyone to vote for him. But we all know Biden won because of there's a few things. Trump kicked himself during the debates, we know that. Also, with the media being really against Trump, that really propelled somebody like Joe Biden to come in. And Joe Biden wasn't as politically correct as these other people. I mean, he did have his political talking points so that he could appeal to the masses that were against Trump at the time because of all those reasons I just stated. But just the downfall is that you were just so desperate to get rid of somebody rather than desperate to make your party look good. Or just they should have been like, the reason why Trump won is because not only is he popular in the way that he speaks politically, he literally brought politics to the mainstream like no one has ever seen before. I think Obama had a good deal of mainstream politics, but like in terms of like real mainstream, like your average Joe like paying attention to politics, Trump had that. Trump created that. And I think the Democrats should have been focused on like, how can I actually reach people rather than just being the opposite of Trump. This is literally their karma.
7 years of his political career, but there it came roaring back in 2019. And now even Biden is admitting, he says, I don't talk as well as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to, but doggone it, the one thing I can do is tell the truth, which rings hollow when even CNN had to go on a 3-minute diatribe, a litany of all the lies that he told during that Thursday debate. And not to forget that Joe Biden dropped out of the 1988 presidential race because of dishonesty. So the question now is, if Destiny and I are correct, and he just is the nominee, then how does the New York Times, how does Politico, how does Washington Post, how does the entire liberal establishment campaign for this guy after admitting he's not fit to be president?
When you and Destiny basically agree, that's when you know how bad this situation is, right? I just want to bring in Fox News medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel quickly. Dr. Mark, great to see you. And the reason I wanted to talk to you was because we've got a clip. This is Biden debating before the 2020 election.
But not
Biden
like
debating
beta professional.
Now,
that's what I like
to
about
watch
Piers.
this and just give an assessment of what we think may be happening here.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
I want to buy your house.
I'm not even
going
going
to cash for your house, no matter what condition it's in. If you
I mean, I play golf off 16, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I would bet $100,000 to a charity of President Biden's choice that I could give him a shot a hole rather than him giving me 10 shots, and I'd still beat it. This idea he was ever a 6 handicapper is ludicrous. But Dr. Mark, there are so many clips that people are comparing to 4 years ago to 8 years ago, Joe Biden in debates, where he sounds previously whip smart, really on it, dynamic, and so on, eloquent, articulate. That person no longer exists. What is likely to be happening here?
I'm glad you used the word likely, because obviously I haven't examined about Piers. First of all, everyone out there needs to know that he's going to be the last to know. Any neurologist will tell you he's going to be the last to admit it. Those around him will see him faltering. They'll see him having problems with speech, searching for words, not following a sentence from beginning to end, saying ridiculous things, saying offensive things, getting irritated when he's contended with. That's a sign of growing cognitive impairment. He's going to be the last to admit it. And then his wife steps in and starts speaking for him, reminiscent of Woodrow Wilson, when he couldn't rule the country and his wife was taking instruction and running the country. That was probably the scariest thing of all. I think that there's a lot of risks he has here for dementia. One, he has an irregular heartbeat, and that irregular heartbeat can lead to silent ischemia, silent strokes. He walks with this gait that looks neurologic to a lot of neurologists, that there's a problem with his gait. That goes back to what's going on up here. Does he have fluid on his brain? Some neurologists have said he could have an atypical Parkinson's. He's got something going on. And here's something that none of your expert panel yet said, and they're expert. I love this panel you have. Piers, never mind whether he's going to run or not. Can he be president now?
Right.
He doesn't.
Why is she shaking her head? The only talking point she had is abortion.
What happens if we get a phone call in the middle of the night? That famous phone call in the middle of the night. There's a nuclear threat going on.
Why would you even shake your head about? I want to see what Destiny has to say. If there's anybody that could possibly rebuttal or like go against what this guy's saying, it's Destiny. But I want to
actually address that.
Look at him. He's getting ready.
And of course, Tommy was right. The world leaders are watching this. But how about our own national security?
Yeah. Well, I was struck by the briefing that came out saying, you know what, he's pretty good between like 9 and 4 o'clock, which is why all the clips of him out there speaking, like the next day, he was out, sounded pretty different. And I was like, well, that's fine, right to the point that he has to apply his finger to the nuclear trigger at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock or midnight. I mean, if we get the guy who was on that debate stage at the wrong moment, I wouldn't trust him to run a bath, let alone run a military order.
That's a great point. If he's sundowning, he can't run the country after 6 p.m. And then the White House is saying he has a cold. Well, excuse me. I've had colds, and I still can carry a train of thought. Cold medicine. I take Gaywell sometimes, and I'm fine. I can think clearly with Mucinex. I mean, whatever they gave him, if it impairs him to the point where he can't speak clearly or think clearly, he can't run the country.
Is there a mechanism if it turned out, for example, that he genuinely has got a deteriorating dementia that is quite aggressive, and this gets medically diagnosed now as a result of this debate, is there a mechanism?
Right now,
Thank you very much.
In the middle of the night. I mean, it's
there he is.
Demand.
Thank you very much indeed. Destiny, you were chuckling there. What were you chuckling about?
The idea that a Republican would demand a full physical assessment from a president when they wouldn't even demand Trump's taxes is hilarious to me. The idea of not being able to
actually, you know what? Because there's different angles. Whether this is true or not, the argument of perception here is that, let's say, two things. I remember a period where people were calling for like Trump's like health evaluation. If you sell it to the point where you were doing tax evasion, Americans don't give a I don't care. People that say that they care they're just trying to either sound smart or they don't know what the fuck. People don't give a fuck about tax evasion. Let me tell you right now, if you're selling yourself well enough, whether it's true or not, if you're a good businessman is the selling point. If you're a good businessman and then you avoided taxes, then you're a genius businessman. No one cares. No one cares. That alone will get you popular. That alone. Because I'm telling you, no one cares about tax evasion. People care about their own life, their own pocket. People in the middle class, they want to pay less taxes. At the end of the day, everybody wants to pay less taxes. But at the end of the day, if you ever hear a Democrat in the middle class, real middle class, like actual middle class, not like 100K middle class, like real middle class, like 50K or lower. If you ever hear them say, "Oh, I don't mind getting a little bit more of my taxes," they are throwing up every night, trying to make ends meet. Do you know how much inflation we're fucking going through? No one gives a fuck about taxes. Anyway.
Middle of the night. I mean, it's already happened. We've had it with Ukraine. We've had it with Israel. Like not Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not show leadership when Iran attacked Saudi Arabia and he stood by and did nothing. He didn't show leadership when he abandoned our Kurdish allies in Syria for absolutely no reason. Biden has shown leadership, whether you like it or not, whether you like how he's dealt with it or not. He has shown leadership and the ability to bring allies together for Ukraine. He has shown leadership and the ability to force Israel to simultaneously show restraint.
Be that as it may, but the fact that he's giving so much money to Ukraine and nothing is changing, that just tells you a lot. People don't like when America wastes money and gives it to other countries because America is more concerned about their own money. I think, like, let's say like Trump spent like billions and millions of dollars on like something, but it was in America, or if like Biden did that and if it was in America, then it would have more gravity. But the fact that he's giving billions of dollars to Ukraine is making people not trust. Regardless if he was showing good leadership or not. It doesn't matter.
While still remaining faithful as an ally. So, I mean, like, we can make fun of a debate performance all you want, but we can compare the legislative records of both presidents and we can compare their actions in office.
You can, but here's the problem. You can, but here's the problem with that, is that it's just not cutting through. There's no doubt Biden's had a number of wins as president. No doubt at all. There's no doubt that comparative to most of the rest of the world, the US economy is purring along quite nicely. But his approval rating is at 37%. And after that debate, this issue of his own ability to function physically and mentally is now the only thing anyone's going to talk about for the next 5 months. He was incapable, when it really mattered, of articulating to the American people what his successes were, what his policy wins had been, what his attack lines against Trump were going to be, and why he should be re-elected. He couldn't. I mean, honestly, I watched the whole thing at 7 in the morning.
I understand that, but
hang on. I watched the whole thing at 7 in the morning in the UK until 8:30. I had a lot of coffee. I was about as alert as a human being could be. I barely understood anything Biden said in the entire 90 minutes. And by contrast, I've known Trump since 2006 very well.
Dude, he's a Trump fan. Just admit it.
I did Celebrity Apprentice for 3 hours a night across the boardroom, night after night after night, until, and modesty prevented me from going about this too much, until I won. But at the end of it, I had 100 hours of watching Trump. He's pretty much the same guy. You may hate him, you may hate the trash that comes out of his mouth, all those things. But in terms of his actual performance, Trump on that debate stage of the night, if anything, it was the most restrained I'd ever seen him. Because even he could tell the guy next to him was just melting down. So Destiny, there's the problem.
What a black job is, Piers, after watching him? Did you guys figure out what a black job is?
I'm going to come to you in a moment for your analysis of what we think of black.
A black job. This is why Democrats are losing. Because they say dumb shit like, oh, Trump said a black job. What is a black job? You know what the fuck he's trying to say. Or you know what the context he's saying. He means jobs that black people could work that are being overtaken by illegal immigrants. What is that job? I'll say it again. Any job that an illegal immigrant has that a black person could work. That's it. That's it. Not only a job a black person could work, that other people are working and it's only meant for black people. You guys are fucking stupid.
Job is, but let me just get Destiny. That's what I think the problem is, right? The problem is that.
I understand what you're saying, okay? As somebody who spent the last 8 years cutting their teeth doing debate, that's what I do, is political debate. All I've heard every single time is debate doesn't matter. It's not that important. Now all of a sudden that's the most important role.
It does when it's that bad.
Why are we talking? What about the immunity?
Debate matters in terms of how you're making yourself look against your opposition. Substance will typically not matter as much as the way that you're performing. So,
for criminal actions that Donald Trump just secured in front of the Supreme Court.
American
the
people.
Idea that,
well, again,
it's an insane thing that what we're talking about is Biden's debate performance over the legal requests that Donald Trump is making.
Yes, but Destiny, but that's the problem.
That's what we're focused on.
But
this is a problem. I agree.
The problem with Destiny, he's a very, very smart guy. I like him, and I like that I like the way he forms his arguments most of the time. I think he's careful with the way he does it for the most part, but I think his problem is that he thinks that people have enough time as he does. A lot of Americans and a lot of people here are working a lot. I mean, there's a lot of factors. Okay, there's the factors that most Americans aren't. They don't have the healthiest habits. Okay, like to give Destiny some gravity here, you could say that Americans should be paying more attention to the inner text or the what's like really been happening like in between the lines. But the fact is that Americans don't care about like really, really deep stuff in terms of what's actually going on in the White House. They care what's happening in their lives and how they feel that the president is doing. Okay, because you can have a really bad president, but as long as the facade and as long as the marketing of it makes everything look okay, they'll always win. They will always win. You could have both. You could have somebody who shows themselves as someone to be capable and energetic and be doing really good with legislation. But personality will always trump what's actually going on with legislation. Always. It's whether you see that as a downfall or not. I think that if you are somebody who's really smart with legislation, you should focus on trying to make yourself look really, really popular in terms of like your demeanor.
Destiny, right there is the problem, is that people are only talking about it. Remember, before the debate, 2/3 of all Democrat voters wanted Biden to stand aside because they were worried he was too old. What do you think they think now?
Doesn't matter about
no one's changing their mind on that. If anything,
Yep.
I'd be amazed if it's not
Doesn't
90%. And that's the problem. You've got so many things to attack Trump about, but nobody wants to hear it. When has Trump ever been in a debate where the next day the headlines weren't all about him? It's never happened. But now the only thing that anyone will look for with Biden in the next 5 months is him showing further evidence of mental and physical decline. Let me bring in Tommy. This is going to be the greatest period to be a Donald Trump in a presidential race ever, because he just has to keep allowing his opponent to do stupid things and say dumb stuff and look exhausted and lose his train of thought. That's all he has to do.
Right, and I'd also like to make the point, and I know that the liberals on this panel are going to have a collective hemorrhoid when I say it, but even if former President Donald Trump wasn't standing next to a vegetable last Thursday, he still would have performed excellently, and he did. He got his points across. He was able to finesse some of the issues like abortion in a way that I've always been concerned about, but I think he did a great job. So I also want to point that out. But as I've said, I don't think they're going to keep with Joe Biden. I know that all the Democrats say, well, they have to because of this and that. Logistically, they have to keep with him. You can't keep along with somebody who in the next several months is going to go downhill even more steeply. This is not going to be a linear decline. It is going to accelerate. Anybody who's watched an elderly person decline this way knows.
And you know what? I kind of do agree with her in terms of how Trump did, because the only argument that Democrats have is about substance and how much he lied. But even some of those fact checkers that happened, or like the facts that they put up on the screen, I remember one of them, like Trump was saying, like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but Trump was saying that they spent $500 billion on Ukraine. And then the fact checker was like, actually, it was more like $200 billion. Does it matter? It's not the number. It's the fact that it's happening. And it's the fact that it's in the billions. And using that talking point is why Trump is actually a good debater. Like if let's say like a lot of Democrats, the problem is they think debates are like a boxing match where like you can just keep score. And like whoever hits more, you know, or it's like whoever is like quote like the better fighter in terms of technicality will always win. It's this way more complex than that.
It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think there needs to be more of a discussion about just how evil First Lady Jill Biden is, that she is standing by as her husband is going through this. This is truly evil.
Actually, you know what? I actually don't agree. I actually don't agree. A lot of Republicans are saying this, that Jill wants the power, and I actually think that like she is most likely like internally really concerned about her husband, and she knows her husband's ego, and she's trying to like protect him. I really think so. I think in terms of protecting your husband, I think that's honestly what she's doing. I don't think she wants it for the media attention. I really think that she is trying to look after for her husband to stop making it look more like melted ice cream than it already is. At least she's trying to scoop it back in the cone.
Why she's not pulling him aside and saying enough's enough just shows that she is so hungry for power. She's willing to embarrass and let her husband embarrass himself that way. Shame on her.
Yeah, Francesca, I got to say, I agree with that. I think I've interviewed Dr. Biden about 10 years ago now, and I've watched him the last couple of days, and I'm seeing somebody who seems even more desperate not to give this up than Joe Biden is.
It's just for Biden's ego. It's their marriage.
In that position, forget politics for a moment, who sees their other half humiliated on a global stage like that in the way that it went down. Surely the humane thing to do is to persuade that person it's over, isn't it?
Decent argument.
Sure, but also Nancy Reagan apparently was running the show for the last few years of that administration, so you never know. Tommy might be right on this. But look, here's the thing. I'm just jealous of Republicans. Like, you guys are just so loyal, you know? I mean, MAGA is a cult of peaked-in high school conspiracy theorists who want tax breaks and a mass deportation of migrants, and they will abandon Trump no matter what, and you just...
She's right. Okay, so you should learn from that as Democrats. She's right.
I admire that kind of loyalty.
Democrats should learn from that. Is what I meant to say if I didn't say that.
Hang on. Do you know who the biggest deporter of migrants was in U.S. presidential history?
It was Joe Biden.
Did you know who it was?
Obama. One of the two.
Obama.
Yes, it was a Democrat.
Yeah.
3 million.
I hate the Democratic policy.
3 million migrants he sent packing. He was the deporter in chief. Donald Trump, by comparison to Obama, wasn't even at the races when it came to deportation.
I just wish Democrats had Republican conviction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have a wet noodle as a candidate, and Republicans are like, yeah, he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll and he tried to overturn an election that he rightfully lost, and he's got 2 impeachments. Well, we love this guy. Let's effing go.
That's because Democrats are so bad at making Republicans look bad now. Because they're not attacking him in a way where it's working. You need to change, dude. You need to get in the seat. If you're the coach right now, and you're down by this many points, you got to change something. Make a substitution, change the play, change the zone defense to man-to-man or vice versa. You got to do something.
I just wish we had that kind of commitment.
Did you like Bill Clinton as a president?
No, not really. I did not believe in deregulation and like the 94 NAFTA bill.
What did you think of the fact he paid Paula Jones $850,000 to make a sexual harassment? What do you think of him having sex with a young? What do you think of having sex with a young intern?
I don't know why you're again, Piers.
Office?
Again, look, we all know you want Celebrity Apprentice. We all know that that Trump calls you. But like, how
actually,
much?
I've had quite a frosty time with Trump in the last year and a half. So I wouldn't overstate our current
but he still calls you.
relationship.
But you always talk about how he calls you. You're like, I'm a liberal. But
no, but
no, she's right about that. He's not a fucking liberal. He may be a liberal. Here's the thing. He may be a liberal in terms of policy, but like we're now at the point that like being a liberal, being conservative, it's almost like not about the policy anymore. It's more about the lifestyle. Because of how the right has gone far. I'll admit it. The left has gone way further left. Obama, when he was first running, and the argument about this made that maybe because he was doing this to appeal to the masses, and the masses weren't about gay marriage, blah, blah, blah. But just the fact that, like, in 2008, where him and Biden were like, marriage is between a man and a woman. To now go into, like, gender is a choice. See how far that goes? The only length that the Republicans have gone is that they've been like more conservative about like their demeanor and say, well, I really think that as Republicans, we need to give back to the people by stop taking so much taxes. We need to protect our borders. And we need to have a strong military so we can protect everybody and God first. And then you have Trump coming in saying, we need to do this, okay? Way too many illegals, okay? We need to get the wall right up. We need to... You see how it's the same thing? Oh, it's more extreme, but it's the same sort of mentality. Where it's, we need to have a strong border. There's too many Mexicans. Same thing, kinda.
I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. Never have been. I ran a left-wing newspaper in Britain for 10 years, right? I would call myself a centrist, actually. I'm a journalist who likes to go after both sides, hold both sides to account.
Come to the
right. Right now, the problem that the Democrats have is no one cares about Trump. And this is a guy with 91 criminal charges against him, right? But no one's talking about it. They're all talking about whether the guy currently in the White House can even know what day it is. That's the problem.
A lot of people would vote for a corpse over Donald Trump. That
they may have
actually
to.
says more about Donald Trump than it does about Joe Biden. Let's go.
All right. Michael Knowles, apparently people will vote for a corpse over Donald Trump.
They will, and please let them do it. Let the partisan Democrats do it. I'm now all in on the Democratic rhetoric. The Democratic primary voters have made their decision. They want Joe Biden as their nominee. It would be an assault on the integrity of this country and on our sacred democracy if they replace him now. I can't wait to see him in all 50 states. At this point, obviously, the man is not up to the job. So someone else is running the country, whether that's Jill, whether it's Ron Klain, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's Barack Obama.
Do you know what's really interesting, Michael? This is really interesting to me, this panel, because if we'd gone back, 3 months, you'd have all been shouting at each other, arguing about Trump. The two siding to the Democrat side here on the panel.
I think they're probably just going to do the same talking points
in his official.
These next 5 years might be the most important 5 years of your life.
Don't the
business you're in, but you also anticipate what's next.
What's next?
I wish I could do him. I sound more like Doug Rivers.
This is based on a 40-year precedent. It really goes all the way back to the Marshall Report.
Will people vote for a course of Donald Trump?
Yes, the Democrats are upset.
They're pretty much talking about the same thing over here. At the end of the day, basically status, perception of that status, whether it's true or not, your political opponents versus his status and health or perception will always trump the actual legislation and economics. It's unfortunate, but it's also fortunate, because if you can master both, then you're tremendous. And I think definitely with Trump, there was a lot of questionable legislation, but overall the country was way better. And he even said in 2020, or actually it might have even been as soon as late 2019, that they should look into what's going on with China. At least he had that sort of mentality, bro. But they called him a fucking racist and Zionist and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, compare the 4 years of Trump versus the 4 years of Biden. Not by the media, okay, but by like most American lives. And I think that's why Trump's becoming popular with a lot of young people and Latino people, Black people, people that didn't vote for him before.